Kadi, thanks for being here.
Of course.
Yeah. So you are the first young person that I've been able to convince to come and chat with me. So I appreciate your willingness to do that.
Yes, you're welcome.
And I use the words young person because we're in an interesting place right now as a society of where we're trying to decide what words are best to use with each other. Because, you know, if you call you a child or a kid, of course that doesn't work. We have this arbitrary age of like 18. That means you're now an adult. Young person, how does young person feel to you?
I mean, it's good because, you know, as I get older, I want to be called a young person, right?
I feel that, yeah.
I think I would prefer a young adult because I'm only 20 and I still want to look mature, you know, even though sometimes I have like my childish behaviors. But honestly, from you, Peter, I think I'll go with either. Yeah, you're a pretty cool dude, so that's nice.
Oh, thank you, Kadi. That's very nice of you. So I'm curious. I'm no longer a young adult. I'm moving into like this mid-adulthood, which is weird for me. So what is it like to be a young adult right now? I
want to say exotic, you know. Hopefully that's the appropriate word, but like it's nice, you know. Like I'm able to like grow as a person and adapt to new things, meet new people, and be exposed to so many great things, you know, that I wasn't, that I have not had the opportunity to be exposed in. So it's good, you know, but it's a lot of responsibility in adulting, you know, like managing money. Just like 2 days ago, I was literally like in my account and I was like, wow, like if I'm going to do a study abroad, I got to like manage all this money. How much do I have to save? Blah, 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 blah. And it's a headache, honestly. Yeah. I don't know how my parents do it, but, you know, congratulations to them. And I'm thankful for them, honestly. Yeah,
that is a weird thing about adulthood is like we come across these things that we don't really teach very well in school. Budgeting, money being a couple of those things. Like now you're a young adult, you get to figure that out.
Exactly.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So have you gone about a certain way to do that? Like how do you figure that out?
Honestly, I don't even know. I think I'm more of a go with the flow person, you know? Like I have some moments where it's like if I need to save money for a specific thing, then I know how to do it, you know? Like I'm not very like I do spend money, but I know how to control myself. You know, I've learned how to control myself at least. But if it's like important stuff like school related, I know how to save money for that. And I know how to spend money. If I need to pay my car, I know like this is how much I have to like keep, this is how much I have to spend. I know how to balance it out, but I don't have a specific routine that I do. I just go with the flow.
That's a good trait that you have this kind of balance between just having general control of not going too wild on spending, but then knowing kind of what the important things in life are for you. So outside of like money and budgeting, what is the other things in young adulthood that you've noticed is kind of like, oh, this is weird, I have to figure this out?
Oh, beside money, I want to say keeping up with trends. Honestly, yes. Right. Yes, keeping up with trends has been, I'm someone who loves like, you know what's happening, like what's going on around me and like knowing my surroundings and stuff, like what are my friends, like what do my friends like, what do other people like, you know, so I'm a very big social media person, so I like to keep up with that, and there's some weird stuff out there, but it's, you know, it's what make all of us unique, right? So it's pretty cool. So just keeping up with this stuff.
Yeah, I was with some young people earlier today in junior high, and I was asking a few what their favorite social media was. Was it Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok? What is it for you?
Oh, that's a hard one, but I feel like I'm an old soul. I have to go back to the OG Twitter, you know? It has its moments, you know? It has sometimes there's a lot of crackheads in there. So it definitely has its moments. Sometimes it's very dry, and sometimes it's very wow, you know, like a lot of memes and a lot of like comments. So Twitter for sure.
Twitter used to be like, I used Twitter for a little while, like earlier on, and then I was like kind of bored of it and I deleted it. And then just more recently, probably past year or so, I got Twitter again, and you know, I've been mostly using it to follow news. So I don't like put a tweet out or anything. Twitter used to be like where we would announce stuff like at Kadi, I'm going here for dinner tonight. What do you think? Sort of thing. Like we kind of communicate with each other. Do you still use it that way, or how do you use Twitter?
I'm sorry, Peter, but you're old.
I know. That's
old.
why. This is why I want to hear from you. Yeah.
Listening to you, I was like, oh wait, when did we ever use Twitter like that? Definitely lie. That is not the case anymore. It's more like roasting people and talking smack.
Okay.
You know, and literally roasting celebrities, and it's honestly with the news. I would say Twitter is very big with the news. Like literally, it's way faster than BBC News. It's crazy. Like Twitter is on with this news updates. You know, sometimes when I don't watch the news, I can find my news through Twitter. You know,
and. How have you found that? Is it like you feel like it's reliable? Do you feel like, oh, this is a bunch of garbage on here, or?
I really would say that Twitter is more reliable than CNN for sure, because you're able to see everyone's opinion and perspective on what's going on, and then you're able to like see this person, and then you're like, oh my god, like that makes sense, and see this other person's comment, you're like, oh my god, that makes sense, and you know, and come to your own conclusion. Yeah. So I would say it's more reliable, because you know CNN's kind of fake. You know, they show what they want to show. You know.
Right.
So Twitter's my news.
Yeah, I think I've enjoyed some of those similar aspects of like this more independence, people being able to post more independently, not being associated with a mainstream media of CNN, BBC, NPR, Fox News, whatever it might be, because it seems like they all have what they want you to hear, right?
Exactly.
And so finding some alternative or independent sources has been challenging, but I think they can be found in Twitter. I'm wondering, can you find those for your kind of like what you're interested in or what you're interested to hear about in the news?
For sure. But I don't just stick with Twitter for my news. I also like to do my own research, you know, which is always good. Instead of just relying on one thing, I feel like you should expand and then get more knowledge on whatever news you're trying to look up. So just researching it and doing your own, you know, studies.
Right.
Even though it might seem like a lot of work, but, you know, it's good. It's better to know the truth than like live with a lie.
Yeah, for sure. So one interesting story that I've heard recently that kind of made Twitter blow up was the Nicki Minaj stuff. So I wanna hear like what's your thoughts about all of this?
Hold on, backtrack. Nicki Minaj. I haven't been on Twitter in a while.
Okay.
Like about 2 weeks. So has it been 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's been in the last 2, maybe 3 weeks. So she posted a tweet that said something to the effect of like, my cousin's boyfriend's testicles were swollen because he took the COVID vaccine. So she was like, make your own choice, everybody. You know, kind of like, you know, be careful because we don't know what's going to happen. And then the news kind of went wild and said that this guy who had this issue, his girlfriend broke up with him because he had this issue, and then everybody's like, no, he's lying, this isn't a COVID vaccine thing. So it made a big, huge sort of stink, and I guess maybe even reported that she got banned from Twitter for a second because she was spreading misinformation.
Okay, so that's totally not a Twitter news. I definitely say it's reliable, but that is so funny. Wow, I haven't even heard about that. But I got the COVID vaccine. I got both of them, and I can tell you that nothing has happened to me so far. Thank God.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's very interesting. Please do your research, you know. And with the COVID vaccine, I know there's a lot of doubts with it, but go with your guts, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're at a time we all want to go back to our normal lives, you know. But it's not going to be normal. We're not going to go back to our normal life. But honestly, we can just pray and do what we need to do, you know, to get through this together.
Yeah, I like that message. So just going back to this sort of general getting your news and information, Twitter's your thing. You also mentioned kind of smack talking to the celebrities and stuff. I like that. Is that like a thing? Like you get on there and you kind of see what's going down with the trends and everything?
I never tweet, but I just read other people's tweet. You know, so much sass goes down, especially with the Met Gala, you know?
Oh, okay, yeah, I saw that.
There has been a lot of like shade there and a lot of like appreciation for other people who dressed appropriately for the Met Gala, like what the theme was. And, you know, some people have taken it way too far as that they even got onto TikTok, of course. Yeah. You know, when one thing spreads, it goes everywhere else, you know. But Twitter if you don't have Twitter, please download it. It's gonna change your life for the better.
There has the last we could probably talk forever about Twitter and this sort of stuff, but maybe the last main thing that comes to my mind recently about Twitter and the discussion is censorship. A lot of discussion about whether Twitter should censor certain things or if they should let people just speak their mind and not be, fact checkers out there, no misinformation checking. It's just like people speak their mind. What do you think?
Yeah, we live in a time where everyone, everyone always say freedom of speech, freedom of rights, Personally, I feel like you should have an option to censor things. Like, I feel like there should be, like, in the setting, if you want to censor, like, certain images or certain things, you should be able to do that. But it should be your own choice, whether you want it or not. Just like a block button. If you want to block someone, you can do it, right? It should be something like that. And because I know I've come across some stuff that I've seen on Twitter that I wish I hadn't seen.
Sure.
And I wish I had the a button that I can click to like censor those images. So I guess it depends on the person.
Yeah, I like that. But I kind of like the simplicity of how you kind of just described, like, well, we can ultimately block a source that we don't want to hear from anymore if we feel that they're not useful or if they're spreading things that are not good for us or what we want to consume. I like that, It should be our choice, right? What we consume or don't consume. So if you see something you don't like, block that from your life. It's a general life principle, right?
Literally, very common sense,
Yeah. If there's a person or something in life that you don't like, you don't have to participate in it.
Literally. Just like 2 + 2 is 4. Simple,
Yeah, I like that. Is there anything going on right now in kind of just latest news, anything that's really catching your eye that's really interesting to you right now as a young person?
Right now, not at the moment, because I've been busy with my education and work and trying to pay off my car.
Okay.
So just focusing on myself generally, especially with this whole pandemic. There's not much you can really do. So I'm just trying to do what I can do to survive. Taking each day, but a step at a time. So I've been very distant from my phone because I'm just trying to like cleanse myself. And I feel like COVID has some positive, side effects,
Sure.
That I'm able to like distance myself from like a lot of like negativity that's been going on in the past. So I'm very grateful for that. So there hasn't been any very like enormous news.
Sure.
Any like very like big news happening in my life at the moment.
Yeah. So if I understand you correctly, kind of one of the positives you've seen from kind of maybe some of the distance that COVID has created or slowing things down is for you to maybe disconnect and just focus on yourself and focus on what your needs are for right now.
Exactly.
I think that's a huge message that doesn't get said enough, is like taking time to focus on themselves, to take care of themselves. Where did you learn to do that, or how did you learn to do that for yourself?
That's very interesting, because like I don't even know how. I feel like it sort of just like clicked to me that I really need to take some time for myself, like when you go on social media every day, it's pretty draining, and a lot of, especially like for a person of color like me, like when you see like some certain like beauty standards, you're like, I want to look like this person. Oh, I wish I had money to buy this stuff, and like wishing for that is just every day. It's just bring a lot of negativity in my mind. And then one day I just felt like I just need to stop, I just need to distance myself from those stuff,
Right.
We're all different, and I'm not going to look like a certain person that I see on social media,
Sure.
And like just because somebody posts something on social media that you see that is so fascinating, that doesn't mean that's how their life is in reality, Everyone's going through their own demons, So you just got to honestly take a step by step. It's not going to come easy, but just do what you got to do,
Yeah, I really like that. I think that's really good insight for yourself on your part, is to be able to recognize like, hey, I just need to step back. I think maybe people think that they can't step back because then they're not engaged with friends or engaged in their world. Any thoughts or like advice that you would give from your own learning experience on that?
Yes, the world is always going to be there. It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
You're gonna, where you left off is, you're going to just pick it back up, And you just being on it every time, you're kind of wasting your own time,
right?
Like, because society, new stuff come in, new stuff go out, old stuff go out. So you don't have to worry about not catching up or engaging with other people. There's time for that, But you need to take time for yourself to engage with yourself, learn about yourself, learn new skills that's going to help you in the future,
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I've noticed that, if I just spend my time on Twitter or my phone in general, I'm not developing new habits. I'm not probably not doing things that I really want to do and enjoy.
Exactly.
I think the balance for me has been hard in I'm a lifelong learner. I like to describe myself as somebody that's just curious about things. So Twitter is an easy sort of tool to open myself to all these new thoughts or ideas or information and data. So I love soaking that up, but sometimes it is toxic and sometimes it's just a plain waste of time.
Exactly. There's a lot of toxic stuff in social media that is just draining,
Yeah.
And with so many stories that you hear from people, this person has committed suicide because of this thing, and the cyberbullying and everything. It's a lot of just negative stuff, That's why you need to just pause and then later go back. Press play,
Sure.
It's just like a movie. So don't be held up on people telling you oh, if you delete this social media, oh, how are we going to communicate with each other? Right. Call me, FaceTime me.
Yeah.
You have my number.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, I like that. Be a little bit more personable in the way you engage and create relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And don't put all your life out there on social media,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not always good to be an open book, Sometimes it's good to have closure and have self-respect for yourself so you don't have to be too out there, Sometimes it's nice to have some surprise stuff to you,
Yeah, that brings up another thought about this topic that's been a little bit more popular the past 3, 4, 5 years is this topic of being vulnerable. We all need to be a little bit more vulnerable, maybe even with ourselves to start and then with people around us.
Yeah.
What have you learned about vulnerability in your young adulthood?
I honestly just recently started being vulnerable. Growing up, I feel like I didn't have a safe space to be vulnerable, especially with my family. A lot of stuff went on during the past, and I was never really close to any of my family members except for my brother, Kadi Sow, who passed away from cancer back in 2018. So he was the only person I felt like I can truly be myself and be vulnerable with. And it's something that very recently came new to me, and I was able to be vulnerable with myself first and admit when I'm sad, admit when I'm depressed, admit when I have anxieties, And if you don't do that, if you don't admit it, you're just going to brush it off, you're going to act like it's nothing. And it's something that we need to seriously focus on. And mental health is a big, big thing that we need to really focus on. A lot of people it's okay. If you're sad, it's okay. Just go eat some chocolate or something. No, that shouldn't be the case. Let's talk about it. This is a conversation that we need to put some light on,
Yeah, I really like that. I think I mean, obviously our youth and childhood is very different, but I experienced the same sort of lack of vulnerability in my family. My family was very much surface level. How's your day? Good. What do you want for dinner? Hamburger. Just just basic stuff, and we never really dive in and talk about how we were feeling or how I might have got sad at school because somebody made fun of me or whatever it might be. We never got to that level, and I had to learn these things later in my adulthood as well.
Exactly, same thing for me, and I'm still learning. Life is a learning game. So vulnerability, just if you feel sad, admit you're sad.
Yeah.
Don't just say I'm not sad, and reach out to your loved ones, because a lot of times people don't just come out and let you know. Sometimes you really have to ask, how are you truly feeling, and don't force them, because forcing people can lead to bad effects. But just try to show them that you are truly here for them, and whenever they're feeling down, they can always reach out to someone.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think there's, this whole learning process that you talk about through a lifetime of learning when, it's okay to be vulnerable, with which people it's okay to be vulnerable, and when to maybe give people a little bit more space, because that's part of mental health too,
exactly,
right? It's taking space and asking for space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's normal. It's don't think that you are being greedy if you ask people that you need space. Don't think that you're being too greedy. You're right. It's for your mental health, and it's important. So if you feel like you need space, let them know that you need space. And it's very important to distance yourself and isolate yourself from other people who are not bringing peace to your life. It's okay to cut people off. And that is life. You meet one and you let go of one.
Yeah, I really like that. I found it difficult at times to be able to like ask for what I need, and I've noticed that in just general observation, this difficulty of like being able to just say what I need or ask for what I need. Why do you think it's so hard for us to just do that?
Yeah, ties into like vulnerability also. We don't want to seem weak. We don't want to ask. We feel like everyone's going through a hardship, so we don't want to, barge in another problem. That's even with me at home. Like when I'm going through stuff, or if I need something, or if I'm having trouble with money, it's not very easy for me to go and ask my parents. Because I'm like every day I see my parents coming home from work and they're very tired. And I feel like if I just ask for money, like like they need more money than I do. I'm still young and I don't even have that many chores to do at home, and they're paying for rent and car insurance and everything. So I guess it's a more coming from a place where like you just don't want to bring more problem into their life. You don't want to like put your problem on theirs also, because it just feels like it's too much baggage for them to carry.
Yeah, I think I've got similar feedback of like, I don't want to burden you with my problems, or I don't want to make more stress for you, sort of thing. And I've tried to, say similar things of like, well, it doesn't have to be that way. Just simply talking about it together and sharing our anxieties, sharing our depressions, sharing whatever it is. We're not necessarily saying that you need to carry this for me, but just like being able to talk about it and have a safe place to do that is a huge thing.
Yeah, and feedback is very important, because a lot of times, like, when you have people who always keep stuff to themselves and their problems to themselves, it's because of the feedback. Maybe they have tried to reach out to someone and that person didn't really help, So it's also a lot from experience,
Right.
Even for me, like, I've had times where I try to be open with people and they just did not listen to me. So it also, closes, like, puts another blind where I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to, just stay away from asking people about some things, or just coming up to people and telling them my problem. So it just put another like veil in my face that I feel like I can't even trust some people.
But I'm sure that maybe, well, I shouldn't say sure, but maybe you've experienced the opposite, where somebody is like open and it feels so good, and you're like,
for sure.
Oh, this was a really nice conversation. I got a lot out.
Yes.
It was good to just be real with somebody, right?
Yes, for sure. Definitely, 100%. Just like I said with my brother, he was like my go-to, and then now when he was gone, I was like, okay, now it's like you gotta find somebody else that you can try to connect on a deeper level like that. But not everybody's the same, Not everybody let off the same emotions. So I'm still looking for that person, but I feel like with my mom, I'm able to do that with my mom, be vulnerable and really talk to my mom about some certain stuff that I'm not able to talk to my dad about.
Yeah. Which is great. Do you feel like your parents are developing more of an understanding of the kind of the mental health things that we've been talking about a little bit more, or maybe they already had that understanding and sharing it with you, or how has that gone?
Coming from an immigrant parents, back home, there's honestly, it's sad that there's no such thing as mental health. Like you come up to someone and you're like, I'm depressed. They're gonna be like, huh? Yeah. It's like, okay, like, well, like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
And I feel like I'm like the teacher at home. I have to teach them this stuff because they haven't been to school and they don't know like what's going on in the world in the U.S. Except for like when they watch like CNN and stuff. So they don't really know much that's going on. So I have to like teach them how like what is mental health, like what is this issue, like what is that, like what is this,
Right.
But they're still working on it. Just like they're trying to understand like this is a serious issue,
Yeah.
Even when and it's so sad because it's like when they're going through something that's part of like a mental health, like they don't really realize that this is something I need to get help on, and they don't really want to talk about it. They just keep it, and you can see how like it's very like hard on them, because they feel like, especially with like the man at home, like they like, I'm the man of the house, you know.
Right.
I'm not supposed to show emotion, like I have to be strong for the family. But why do you have to carry all that burden, you know? Why, like exactly like you said, like family, you have to be there for your family. So shouldn't we all be together as one for each other, you know?
Yeah. So I've noticed similar things with my parents, and maybe part of this is like a generational thing of the older generation of our parents and our parents maybe didn't have as much access to knowledge or resources about mental health, and so maybe that's opening up, which is great. The other factor that you talked about is home. Where is home for your parents, and what was it about that culture that maybe put those confinements on mental health?
Yeah, home for my parents is definitely where they were raised, you know, where their mother's footsteps are, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if they can go back right now, if you give them a flight ticket right now, they're like, peace, I'm out of here, you know? And I can see that, like, how hard it is for them to be in this country, knowing that they have family members back home, especially my dad having his mom back home in Mali, and she basically has no one, you know? Like, most of her kids either passed away or moved to a different country, you know? And it's like the poverty there is, like, it's like, very high, you know?
Right.
So, like, oh, man, it's... one second. It's just, I don't even know what to say, but like, if my dad was here, he would definitely not call this place his home, you know? Like, even through all the years that he's been through, like, he doesn't think he's found like a specific moment that would lead him to call this place his home.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, that's really tough, and maybe that's one thing that I think is important for us that haven't experienced a migration story to realize is that, you know, people migrate for a lot of different reasons. And if I can try to like maybe summarize some of what you said about your dad or your parents, is that they probably didn't really want to leave their home.
Exactly.
It was necessary at some level. They wanted maybe more opportunity for you, and they find it to be really hard to call a new place home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's what happened with my dad. Like, he moved from back home to the States in 2001. And I wasn't even born then. But he owned a chicken farm back home, but the business wasn't working that well. So he signed up for the lottery. And he won the lottery, which is pretty cool.
Oh,
but
yeah, that is
he won
cool.
the lottery to come to the States and to just start a new life and have opportunity for his kids, you know, and to have education. Because he stopped going to school in second grade, you know, so he didn't have any education, and to just come to a different country not knowing anybody, it's just intense. And he actually originally went to New York first, and he was there when 9/11 happened.
Oh, wow. And
so that impacted him a big time. Caused him to move to a different state, to come to Utah, you know.
Right.
But it was just to have a better opportunity for his family and to like give like the whole world to his kids.
Yeah, that's a huge sacrifice. And you know, I think that's maybe one common theme among a lot of the older generation of migrants or immigrants coming to the United States is like, I'm sacrificing so that my family, my children can have more opportunity. So now that you've been here and you grew up here and you've had that opportunity, talk about that experience for yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely opposite with compared to my parents. Like, if you ask me where home is, like I'm still trying to find home. Honestly,
Sure.
I would call Utah my home because I grew up here, you know, and I've been exposed to so many different cultures and different people, which I'm super grateful for. But at the end of the day, if you ask me what I call this home, I would say no. Just like my dad, I haven't found like a specific moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, this is my home. You know, I haven't really clicked with this state as much, but with everything that have happened to me, with every opportunity that I've been given, I'm very grateful for every single one of them.
That's got to be tough to not have that sort of feeling of home, because I can just, you know, speak from my experience. I grew up a little bit south of here in Orem. Even when I just go back from Salt Lake to Orem, there's this sort of feeling of going home, but it's a weird feeling because there's like, I feel it as a home, but I feel the anxiety and comfort that comes with kind of what my experience of home has been. So I guess that makes sense in you saying that, you know, just finding what clicks or what works for you to be able to finally call it home. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes, even back home, like if I were to go back, I haven't been since I came here when I was 6 years old. So if I were to go back home, will I even call that place my home?
Right.
Even though I'm surrounded by all those delicious food, amazing people, all my family, like, but would I really truly call that place home? Because I'm not even used to it. Like, if you ask me about memories that I've had growing up there, I literally have none.
Yeah.
You know, so I can't really say that's my permanent home either.
Right. And I imagine that creates some maybe awkward, uncomfortable situations when people are trying to ask you about like where you're from, how long you've been here, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and they're like, so tell me about back home. I'm like, there's not much to tell, really. You know, like I don't remember really what happened. Even like when we call back home as during Eid, it's like you're talking to family members, and it sucks because it's like they have very thick accent back home. So whenever they're like giving you prayers, you're like, thank you, and you don't even know what they're saying. You know, you're just saying thank you, and then they like ask you some questions, and you're just like, huh? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give the phone to my dad now, and it's so sad because I'm like losing like half of my language, you know, and I don't want to go back home and like having them speak to me, and I'm just like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, that's got to be tough, and that probably contributes to this. I don't know if it's a lack of feeling of home, because you kind of feel probably stuck in the middle of like you're bridging this huge gap of like language, culture, a physical place being home, all of that.
So much. There's so much that goes into it. You know, like I'm just trying to still be connected to my roots. Like I obviously do not 100% don't want to just let it go, you know. I still want to be connected to my culture, to my family, to my tradition, and it's something that I want to carry on and to give to my kids. Also have my kids have the opportunity to go back home, see like where mom grew up from, and then see where dad grew up from, you know, and just be able to connect to their roots, to like just know where they came from, where their mom came from, you know?
That's beautiful. I love that. I think I wish everybody would have that sort of opportunity to go to the places where their family heritage came from, to see what that's like. I'm afraid that in America, sometimes there's this sentiment of like, well, you're an American now, you need to kind of forget that past, and you're kind of here now. Why you still identify with this or that? Yeah, do you feel that at all?
Oh yes, so much, and it's so sad because it's like, but why would I do that? You know, like it's my identity. It's literally part of me, you know, like why would I? That's like literally giving half of my body. Like it's crazy, you know. Even if I'm in this country and I've been here all my life, I'm not American. I do not tell anyone that I'm American or African American. I'm just African. You know, African, it runs in my blood, and even it comes out sometimes with like certain words that I say, you know, you hear the accent in there. And it's something that I love, and I'm not trying to hide, and it's nothing that I'm ashamed of, and I want you to know that I am African and that I have an accent, you know?
Yeah, I love that, and I hope you're able to maintain that sort of confidence and belief about all of that, because I think we actually desperately need that as a country, because that's really what this country was founded upon.
Exactly.
Even, you know, so I would identify as an American because I was born and raised here, but even me amongst my friends that were born and raised here and only have sort of this American culture as a part of our lives, we always still talk about like, oh, this side of my family came from England and this side of my family came from Italy or whatever. We all still identify with that and think it's kind of cool. So I don't get why people are so like weird or even just plain rude about that sort of stuff.
Exactly. It's literally having spice to you, you know?
Right.
Like you don't just want to be plain bread, you know? You want to have something, you know? You want to have like some seasoning into you. And it's like with my parents, like if they were to hear me say that I'm just American and not really tie anything to my culture, they're going to be like, huh? Like it's going to feel like they wasted their time bringing me here. Or like it's going to feel like they didn't do their job, you know? Because they're going to be like, oh, like I did not teach my kid the tradition. I did not teach my kid about like her like their roots. Like it's my fault, you know. And I don't want them to carry that burden, you know. I want them to know that I appreciate them, and their feet is my feet.
Yeah, I love that. Is there talks or discussion between you and your parents about like carrying on some of this culture and tradition into maybe a future family that you have?
Family, I honestly don't even. Okay, so with my mom and dad, my dad, we don't talk about anything like that.
Okay.
Because he's all about education, you know, get your education, you know.
Okay.
And with my mom, I'm always like, oh my gosh, Mom, I can't wait to start my family, have a husband, get married. And she's always like, yes, oh my gosh, I can't wait to put the henna on your hand, you know. I can't wait to be the center of attention and dance. I'm like, but Mom, it's going to be my time to shine, so you need to know when to chill, okay? But yeah, there's always like those talk on like passing down the tradition to the kids, you know, and having the kids explore, like I said, going back home and seeing everything and just not losing their self in this world.
And so it sounds like maybe your mom is a little bit more like excited about that part of things and being able to share that with you and share that with grandkids.
For sure.
Yeah, that sounds like a typical sort of grandma thing, which I love. Yeah,
she always talks about, oh my gosh, I can't wait to have my little nieces and nephews. I'm like, yeah, Mom, let me just finish school first, you know.
yeah. I've been able to watch through my sisters and my mom, you know, have grandkids, and she loves to get them involved in the tradition sort of side of thing and participate in that. So
it's always so cute and it's very like wholesome.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to, you mentioned some ideas about culture. Is there a big difference for you and your experience between this idea of culture and religion? Because when I grew up pretty religious, and it was hard for me to divide like this culture, religion sort of thing. It all kind of meshed together for me. What's that been like for you?
Growing up, I did not grow up in a very religious home. You know, we all like found a way through our religion. And growing up, I realized with my culture and my religion, it's very like parallel to each other. It's very like together, you know? Because a lot of time, like in your religion, what you really do is like the same culture. Like it's the same thing that you're gonna be doing, you know? It's very weird how to explain it, but like I said, growing up, we weren't very religious. We all had to find our way through the religion, and luckily, I did find like a moment where I was very like connected to my religion, and here I am today wearing a hijab that I'm very proud of, and I want everyone to know, you know, I'm a proud Muslim woman, you know. But yeah, I think personally, I do see my culture and my religion being kind of connected to each other, you know, to form like my identity.
Yeah. In recent few years, there's been a lot of talk about women and hijab and Islam. It sounds like you're okay in wanting to engage in that discussion.
Oh, yes, of course.
And wanting to represent, for lack of a better word.
Yes, definitely. Our religion is something I love talking about. Like right now, one of my classes that I'm taking in college is world religion. Okay. And I love it, you know, love learning about the different religions. And it's just so cool. Like, and it's like, after learning about all like the different religions, I'm like, but why are we all fighting each other? Yeah. Like, it makes no sense. Like, I can see certain moments where we're all connected. Like, I can pick up some few bits and pieces from Christianity, Judaism, and even, like, Buddhism. And then I can see, like, that little connection with Islam. Right. But I'm like, why are we all fighting each other? Like, why can't we just all live in peace and harmony? Yeah. You know, it makes no sense. Yeah. Please make it make sense, you know?
Well, I was about to ask you, have you made sense out of that? Like, why is it that we fight? Like, I'm honestly, not sure either.
I blame the media, you know? I blame the media, how they portray Islam, like, in a very negative way. Like I said, it's just what they want you to see is what you're going to see. Unless you do your own research, you're just going to have this misconception of Muslim people, Muslim women in a hijab, Muslim men in a thobe, you know? Instead of having all this misconception, and you don't even want to research about them, go ask the person who is Muslim, you know? Go ask them and just find out the truth for yourself. And then at the end of the day, you can decide, this is not right, this is not wrong. Because at least you have the knowledge, the background knowledge to be like, yes, I can have my decision and be firm in your decision. Right.
How has that been here in Utah? You know, Utah is the capital of Mormonism for the world.
Yeah.
So coming here, identifying as Muslim, have people approached you to try to understand a little bit more in a friendly, cordial, respectful sort of way, or have you got a lot of mixed sort of response around that?
Before, I remember when we first moved here, Utah wasn't a very diverse state. You know, it took a while, but I guess, Mama, we made it. You know, we're here now, and I'm just so happy to finally see a freaking hijabi at the same school as me, and I'm like, we see each other in the hallway, and we're like, hey, you're hijabi, I'm a hijabi, let's link, so it's so nice having that connection. But yes, I have people who actually have come up to me, whether that's in school or just me walking around, and ask me like, oh, like, why do you wear the hijab, like I've seen this on the news, like, is it true? And I'm like, I don't get mad with questions like that. I'm actually super happy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, like, come, my child, let me educate you. You know, like, I love those conversations. Those moments are honestly, it helped even increase my faith, because I'm like, wow, like, my religion's out there, and there's some curious people out there who actually take the time from their day to come and ask me personally, instead of having all these negative thoughts about us,
Yeah, well, which I'm really glad to hear that that's happening, because I think that's going back to a little bit of this vulnerability piece we talked about. It's probably fairly vulnerable for somebody to ask that sort of sensitive question, but then for you also to be just open and willing to entertain that conversation, because that's how we learn about each other, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's the beauty of the situation right now, is we're sitting across from each other, learning and having just a conversation about what's life all about,
Exactly. What is life all about,
Yeah. I'm curious to know, Mormonism has this sort of rap of like, you come to Utah, and probably maybe more so when you first came to Utah, people are going to try to get you to become Mormon.
Oh my God, hold on, I have to take the mic down for this.
Okay.
Hold on.
I mean, just slide it towards you, and then it'll come out. There you go.
Okay. Please stop knocking on my door. I am Muslim. I feel like I should have like a poster on my door that says, "We are a Muslim family. Don't knock." But I don't blame them. That's their job. That's what they have to do. And every time they knock the door, don't tell anyone this, but we hide. Like, we see them through the hole, but we just act like no one's home. Or we close out the windows. Yeah. But sometimes when I open the door, I invite them in for, like, some tea, Right. It's a normal thing to do, It's like, that's the thing. With as a Muslim, there's so many negative stereotypes about us on social media, Right. So it's sad, because when you come and knock the door, you feel like when the missionaries come and knock the door, you feel like you have to let them in and sit down, so they're not like, oh, this is a Muslim family, oh, we know about them in the media already, because this is how they're going to act, they're just going to ignore us, so it's sad, because I feel like I have to, like, welcome them into my house and sit down with them and talk with them and be like, oh yeah, hey, what's up, and and they're out here like, here's the Bible, and I have to take it, Right. Like, we have, like, so many Bibles at my house just sitting, on the table. Like, we just give them out to, like, our neighbors, and, like, they're welcome, like, accept them, Right. But I honestly, at the end of the day, I don't mind it, you're just doing what you have to do, and you're welcome anytime in my house for some chai,
That's awesome. I appreciate that perspective, and I guess to a certain, like, extent or a certain level, going back to this idea of, like, well, I feel like I need to let them in to kind of let them understand that, we're just normal people too. We're Muslim, but we're just normal people. Exactly, we don't want them to think that something else of us if we don't allow them to come in or whatever. I think at a certain level, like, we all need to do that just for whatever we're trying to do in life or passionate about in life, is like, give people space to come in and talk to us.
Exactly.
To let them see that, we're normal, and we're able to have a conversation, and we're willing to, enjoy each other's company, even though we're different.
And I've had some moments where, like, my dad was home and they'd come and knock the door, and it's honestly the most wholesome moment, because it's like one religion and then the other religion, and they just talk about each other's religion, but it's nothing negative, they just talk about positive things, and it's so interesting, because, like, they get to know about my religion, and I get to know about their religion, and I'm just like, this is honestly a great moment to learn about each other's religions, Right. And not having, like, any negative stuff, or just leaving all the negative stuff behind, just close it, and just welcome, and then, like, let's just talk and get to know each other.
I really like that. And I don't know, I might be letting the cat out of the bag a little bit, Kadi. Well, I don't know, no pun intended.
Oh no, I'm changing my name now.
So I grew up Mormon, and I was a missionary. So, and I'm not really religious anymore, and I don't really identify as being Mormon. But I did that whole missionary thing, and I always try to approach it the same sort of way. Like if I'm gonna be sitting in somebody's house, let's just share what we consider the good news of whatever religion we are together. I'm not gonna try to twist your arm or force you to become Mormon, because that at the end of the day, that almost doesn't make sense from a religious perspective if we're trying to force each other into believing one thing or another. If we can just have a conversation about it and learn from each other, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Exactly. That's how it should be with every religion, Like, don't just assume that your religion is right.
Right.
Okay, you know what? I think I just bit my tongue, but I have those moments where I'm like, yeah, my religion's the right one. We all have those moments, but I'm saying, like, hear other people out. When they come to you for a conversation, hear them out. Don't just bash them and be like, well, that is wrong. Like, why in your religion you guys do this and this and that? Like, if you're very curious about this, go on it on a nicer way. You don't really have to, like, be on their throat, Just talk to them like they're human being just like you.
Yeah, I guess that is one of the weird parts about religion, because most religions will say that we're the right religion.
Yeah,
we respect you, we love you, we're the right religion, sort of thing. Which I mean, that's what religion is, right? That's what it's there to kind of provide pathways for people to walk on. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it is funny and to just kind of watch and observe, because we all kind of have an idea of what's right or whatever. So,
exactly. It's so funny. It's very childish at the same time. I feel like it's literally every religion that says this is the right religion. This is the right religion. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
You do you.
Yeah, I heard an interesting story recently from somebody else that migrated to Utah. This person was Hindu, and in Hinduism they have kind of a belief of multiple gods, right? And so they were talking about, actually Anna was telling me this, and they have this belief that there's multiple gods out there and it's okay to worship multiple gods. So when they came to Utah and Mormon missionaries were trying to approach them about joining them, for them it was like, why not? What's another god? Like, I'll become Mormon.
Say less.
I'm still Hindu, but I'm Mormon too. And being Mormon provided some community at some level for them and some connection to resources. But it was also like, hey, why not?
That's beautiful. That's honestly so beautiful.
God,
yeah.
So that's definitely one way to approach it. Sort of this, like,
like
why
that.
not? Like, if whether call him Allah or call him God or whatever, why not?
Just going with the flow, just going with the flow. I love that, honestly. That's very beautiful,
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. It seems like that Utah is also becoming a better place for peoples of different faith and background to worship, and to worship whenever, however they like. Have you experienced that?
100%. Not even just me, but I know so many family members and friends who have actually have experienced that. Like, now people are like, you know what, I'm gonna live in Utah for the rest of my life, and I'm like, good for you. If you really feel like this is your home and you want to live the rest of your life here, honestly, I am 100% with you, because it's becoming such a beautiful place.
Right.
Not only because of the beautiful apartments that I'm trying to move into, but the people here are honestly friendly. Like, it's so weird, because when I see in the media of like so many things happening in different states, like we have police brutality, and like being like as a person of color being stopped by the police, it's nothing I've ever experienced, but I really do feel for those who have.
Right.
But like, it's maybe because I don't hear it, but I don't see it as like much here. Even with like discrimination, like I've had my moments, but I wouldn't say I've had like a huge moment of like discrimination here in this state. And I found that there's so many friendly people here that are like very open-minded, more in the youth. Like, I wouldn't say it's like the older generation. Yeah, we know about them people, the freaking boomers. But in the youth, I say that they're more open-minded to having a conversation with you.
Right.
Which I love. I love you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What? I mean, we kind of maybe talked about this a little bit, but why is it that youth are now so much better about being able to just be like chill about talking about these sort of things?
I think we're just used to it, and we're just tired of having the same conversation over and over again. And I feel like nowadays the youth are trying to change. You know, they're trying to change like the conversations. They're taking it more in like a heavier way. Like they see an issue and they're like, okay, there's something wrong with this, and they're more vocal now. So that's what I'm like, I freaking love this. I freaking love the youth, you know? Instead of like going back like 5 steps, we're like literally going steps forward with the youth, you know? They're taking stuff more seriously, and they're willing to sit down and have a conversation about this issue and like figuring out what do we have to do to change this, right? It's not, and the thing is, I feel like it's not us trying to change it for ourselves, but for the future, you know? It's not just about us. How can we change this issue for it to continue years and years and years down?
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about youth, young adults taking a lot of the weight or pressure of making changes.
Exactly.
Do you feel like that's like an accurate thing that you like your generation's taking that on? And is it fair for us? Oh, I mean, I don't know if I'm probably a different generation, but is it fair for us? Like, let's let the youth work this out.
At this point, I feel like, you know, y'all just need to worry about your back pains and just sit down and have some chai, you know?
Appreciate that. That sounds nice.
But, you know, sometimes I feel like when the youth is trying to handle some stuff, you have some, you know, old people. I feel like the word old is just very... I feel like I'm coming off in a mean way. Am I? Old people.
Yeah. Well, again, going back to like how we start is like, it's kind of hard to know what the right word is to say.
I'm
but
just old people works. You know?
Yeah, I'll give you permission.
I feel like they sometimes just come into the conversation and it's like, you're not really helping. You know, we're trying to move forward. You're just trying to take us like 50 years back, you know?
Right.
So sometimes it's better for them to just sit down and let us handle our business, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't realize that. They always feel like they have to, like, barge in and come into the conversation. Like, yes, I would love to hear you out, but if it's not something that's going to help us, keep it to yourself, honey.
Okay.
Keep it to yourself.
I like that.
You know?
That there seems to be, like, this sort of friction between the tradition of old people, like, let's keep the tradition versus, like, younger people were ready to progress.
Yes.
So how have you found that part?
So with my dad, I feel like I'm like literally talking so much smack about my dad. With my dad, like he's all 100% about old traditions, you know? What the lessons I grew up with is how I'm going to teach my kid. And it's like, Dad, we're not in the same generation anymore, you know? Times are changing. The way you grew up is not the same way I grew up. And then when you try to talk to them, they're like, well, you know, like I literally used to walk up the mountain to go to school and freaking fetch water for my mom. I'm like, honey, you did not do that, Dad, you did not. Don't lie. God is watching you, you know? But yeah, there's so many, like, I gotta bring back the traditions, but we don't gotta bring back the traditions. We're trying to change this because of the traditions, you know?
Right.
It's the traditions that are leading us in a negative way, you know? We gotta change it to have a better tradition for not just you, not just me, but the whole community.
Right. Yeah, I like that. One thing that, from my personal experiences, you know, I don't participate in the Mormon church, but I've kind of been watching some shifts and changes over the past 10 or so years. And a lot of it is being pushed by the youth of like, as a church, we need to change and adapt. And some of that is pushing up against these maybe core tenets of the church, and so the older apostles and prophets of the church are saying, nah, we can't do that, and the younger people like, let's just do this is what we need to do. Are similar conversations happening in Islam about like these changes that need to happen?
Yes, I go to this event every Saturday, and we have some young adults there, and we have some older generations there, and then sometimes it gets pretty heated, you know, like really heated, and I'm just like, wow, it's so interesting having that like back and forth moment with the young adults and then with the adults. And I'm just like, sometimes honestly you can see both points of view, right? You know, like sometimes you can sit back, you're like, okay, this person's right, okay, but this person's right, and then you just gotta, but they never try to have a conversation and have a middle ground, you know.
Right.
There's always like, no, you follow my lead, no, you follow my lead. But there have been some certain conversation about what's happening even here with like our Somali community about the whole gun violence things that are going on, you know. So we're trying to like go on a better way with that solution. How can we protect like our brothers and sisters from this gun violence that's been going around?
Yeah, I really love to hear that you guys are getting together and just having that communication and discussion as a community. I think that needs to happen more. And unfortunately, even in Mormonism, that doesn't, well, it could happen more that I don't know about, but there's this big disconnect between like youth being able to talk and influence the prophet and those apostles, because they're like that really older generation. They're literally in their 70s and 80s, and us, you know, maybe that we're in our 20s or 30s or even in our teens are coming and trying to say like, well, why can't we change this within the church? And there's not even a Saturday that we can get together and yell at each other, right? So it's good to hear that you guys are at least having those sort of conversations. You feel like that things are coming together to be able to produce change?
It's definitely changing. They're finally understanding where we're coming from. Like beginning, like the one word they were always like scared that we'd say is why. You know, they hate that word for some reason. It's like, dude, get out of your butt. But like, it's just like when we bring up the whole why thing, they're like, oh well, you know, your kids, you still don't know. I'm like, but we do know. That's why we're here to have this conversation with you, you know?
Right.
Things are not going to go the way you're planned. And then the things with the whole religion thing, you want it to be better. You want the community to be better. Then why aren't you listening to us? We are the community.
Right.
We are the future. So why don't you invest your money on us? You know, why don't you show some actions that we're trying to tell you to do? Like, be with us instead of against us.
Right. Or is there some sort of level of discussion of like, well, if the younger generation would just follow I don't know if you guys call them commandments or rules or religion, if you guys would just follow that better, it would be all good. Why are you guys not following this sort of thing?
Yes, that irritates me so much. That's when they don't figure out that you gotta disconnect religion and what's going on in society. You know, when we go there, we're not just talking about the religion, we're also talking about what's going on in our communities. But they don't see that. They're always like, well, if you just, you know, we call it deen, if you just follow your deen, things are going to be easy for you, you know. If you just pray your daily prayers and ask God for forgiveness and stop hanging out with like kids that do drugs or have guns, and your whole life is going to be set. And I'm just like, it's not like that, you know. You see, they don't see where we're coming from, and it's like I'm not even just asking for myself. Like maybe I have a friend who's in this situation. I'm trying to find a better way to reach to them, you know. But they don't understand any of that. Well, they would say like, if your friend is in that situation, leave that friend.
Right.
What is this? It's like I'm in a battle. Leave my friend dying. Like, do I just run away? You know?
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense. You know, make it make sense.
Yeah. I got a lot of the same messages when I was younger. It's like, if there's some sort of issue or some sort of problem with me following the religion, what I need to do is I need to pray more, or I need to read those scriptures more, or go to church more, or whatever. And you know, now it's easier for me to say, well, no, like you said, it's just not that easy. It doesn't work that way. We really got to be connected to what's going on, because we can't address depression with a scripture. We can't address gun violence with a prayer.
Exactly.
Of course, we can still do those things and participate in them and have them there to support us, but there's got to be a lot more that happens.
Exactly. It's like sometimes when there's something going on in the world, you don't just read news. You don't just read what's going on in the news, right? You either write to your Congress, your representative, you have a protest, right? Those are all like our responsibility. Like, this is all actions that we're taking to show that we're dedicated to have change. So just praying about gun violence for it to stop and kids taking drugs. Do we just stop there? Like, did we just say, okay, God, thank you for answering my prayers, okay? See you next Sunday or see you next Friday. You know, it's not like that, you know? It shouldn't be like that. We should also show that we're human beings and show that we have sympathy and that we can literally reach to through people also. Like, have some responsibility to do some stuff. Like, we can't just sit around and just pray, you know, and read the Quran or the Bible or something.
Yeah, I like that. Another friend that had on a previous podcast, we were talking a lot about homelessness, and he mentioned compassion being like the main thing that we should approach homelessness with. We're always approaching it as like, why are you doing this? Why are you out on the street? Why are you asking for alcohol or whatever? And why can't we just approach with compassion? And same like with, you know, a young person that has a gun or a young person that does drugs. Why can't we just approach with a bit more compassion to these people?
Exactly. It's always like, why are you doing it? Like, why do you have a gun? Like, why do you need to associate yourself with? Like, first of all, you don't even know the story, you know? So how can you just judge a book by its cover just like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if you really, honestly, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you really want to reach to someone, you got to know the whole story. Don't just nitpick the ones you want and then leave the ones you don't want. You got to really know the whole thing. Even with the guy that said about the whole homelessness, we do have to go with compassion, not just with homelessness, but with the gun violence issue, with so many issues, you know?
Yeah.
Just getting to the bottom of it and then seeing what action do I need to take now.
So from your perspective, where does it come together with, you know, you're meeting with your religious or cultural community to have these discussions? Where does it come together with like the general community, Salt Lake City? Where does that come together to help what you guys are experiencing?
So like, okay, so in the community, when we sit down and talk, we talk about, okay, so this person talks about this is what's going on in their community. This person talks about what's going on in their community. So with all the information we get, we gather up and then we see like, okay, we go to like all these different communities and try to do what we can, you know? Like obviously we cannot reach everyone. We cannot touch everyone's heart, you know? So we just try to do basically what we can.
So a lot of talk comes down to like resources.
Yes,
do we provide enough resources for people living in a certain part of town? And unfortunately here in Salt Lake, it's always talking about like the west side of town. We have enough west side resources sort of stuff. So I don't know if like as a immigrant cultural Islamic community, is there I don't know if there's like this discussion of like how can we get our Salt Lake City community more involved with us and what we're doing? Do you guys have that sort of thought or discussion? Or
I feel like we do, but not one that I've been at. You know, but I know there's so many. Ours is not the only discussions that we have. I know there's so many different like groups that also meet up on like other days to have discussions about certain things. But I knew with us, we do think about resource. Like resources is the number one big thing. Like if we're gonna help, how can we help if we do not have resource, right? So we all try to gather up, like even if it's just money, like gathering up money or gathering food or gathering blankets, clothes. We try to do all of those stuff to just give to those who really need it.
Yeah. I really like that. And I'm curious if you think that there's some responsibility on like a city's level or a county or a state level for them to reach out to folks that need more resources, and how do you go about that? Because it's kind of like this weird sort of area of like, oh, should we go and talk to our friends at the mosque because they're having a meeting about gun violence or whatever? Should we go and approach them and see what we could do, or do we let them approach us and express kind of their needs? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
It's actually like that. Sometimes you have people who from different organizations that come up to you, and like, because they know that you're like specialized in this type of issue, and they're like, oh, we need help with this, and it's like, oh my gosh, come in, you know, we're gonna help you. And sometimes that's the thing. It's super welcoming with all the different organizations. You know, it's not like you're gonna leave one to go to a different one. They're just gonna be like, oh no, we're not gonna help you. You know, everyone's open-minded. And the greater thing about that, we have like the imams, like the people that lead prayers, also involved in this, which is more beautiful because they're able to reach people on a broader way. Because you know, like when you're like the sheikh, the imam, you're more respected in the community because you're like the bigger up. You know, so we have like them like right behind us who also reach out to other organizations. Even out-of-state organizations, which is really cool. Yeah. Even if we want to do something overseas, they have a connection to those communities as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
From my perspective and being involved in sort of these different discussions at different levels, for me it's kind of like this, I wish my wish of everybody coming together would be that like I wish that it wasn't like oh, there's gun violence in this community. It would just be like this overall, there's gun violence in our community. How are we addressing it? How are we coming together to address it? And how can we have a better conversation rather than trying to push this on like, oh, it's only over here that it's happening. Well, no, over there is still our community. Like, we all need to address it together.
Exactly.
And of course, I have incomplete thoughts about how this comes together and how we can make this happen. But I'm wondering if you've thought about that or thought about ways that we can better come together and unify in addressing some of these things.
Yeah. So first and foremost, addressing the issues, saying that there is an issue when there is an issue, right? That's the first thing you need to do. And then now that we realize that there is an issue, who can we bring to the table that's dedicated to change the community? So now you find those people. Now that you found those people, okay, what are the different resources that we can have? Who can we reach out to? Or who can donate what? Now we have that conversation, take all the resources that we can get and then go out into the community, But it's not just the organization. You also have to talk to the community, right? You have to talk to people who are going through through these issues and see, like, how can I help you? Because a lot of times with organizations, we think about we think our idea is the only valid one, but we don't ask those who are going through the specific issue.
Right.
So why are we not involving them onto the table also?
Yeah.
So we got to involve them also. It's not just about you, because you're not the one being really affected by what's going on.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And maybe to even take this on a larger scale back to kind of a young adult or even a teenager, I don't think we do a very good job in society about like asking about what your needs are as a young adult or a teenager. Like, I don't know if you ever were asked going through school or whatever, like, Kadi, what do you think about your experience in school? Can you give us some feedback or advice about how we can change and make this experience better? Did that ever happen?
Never. Sadly, never. That have never ever happened. It's just, and it's so sad. It's always like kids that have to go out and be like, so I want to change this? Like, can we talk about this? And they're like, oh yeah, write it on a piece of paper and just put it in the box. And it's like, I'm still here. I'm in my senior year. Nothing changed, Like, are you reading the freaking papers, And it's so sad. It's like you say that you're trying to make this school or this community a better place, but you're not really listening to us. Yeah.
It's adults really just taking over and taking the power to make decisions for young adults or teenagers. I really hope that changes over time. And again, not to toot my own horn, but like that's reason why I want to talk to young people is to like hear from you all about your ideas, about advice that we can have as older people to better work with, serve, have a community with our younger generation.
Hold up, Peter, you deserve a snap. Thank you. We need more adults like you. Like if more adults were open-minded, I swear this world would be much better. If they really took the time and really like listen to us and listen to what we have to bring to the table, a lot of issues would be gone. We obviously, like, we cannot say we're going to live in a peace and harmony country as a whole nation. That's really not that possible at this moment, But we can definitely attack some issues. Yeah.
I totally agree. And one piece that I would add to that from like this adult side is if there are adults, older generation adults thinking about how they can connect better with younger adults or youth, I would say go into it probably knowing that you're going to make some mistakes on words that you'll use inappropriately or phrases that you'll say that are no longer appropriate or probably never were appropriate, but that we shouldn't watch the words that we use, sort of thing. And for maybe younger people to kind of recognize that, and older people that sometimes they screw up and let's just give each other space so that we can have these conversations, because at some level, even though adults should be like the model of intelligence and maturity and wisdom and be able to have discussions, we both know from talking about our parents that like it's not like adults just know how to have these conversations. They need to practice them as well.
With this whole conversation, I feel like I've been bashing the adults way too much. I'm sorry.
No, not at all.
Actually, but you're right. As a youth, someone who is 20, and with all the youth, I feel like we shouldn't just say like, we're right or anything, right? We also have to understand, like, we make mistakes. Adults are humans as well. Like, they might not have, like, have the same mindset as us, but we still have to respect them at the end of the day, and they have to respect us at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we both have to be open-minded. We both are gonna make mistakes through the process.
Yeah, we're going to the same churches.
Exactly.
We're attending the same libraries. Going to school,
Right.
going to college together at some level. I'm sure there's some
Exactly.
older people going to some of the classes with you, right?
And it's so cool seeing them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hi guys, you know, with my loud voice. I'm sorry.
That is one of the fun things about college, is that you realize that this is kind of where it starts to come together for young people and adults, is because adults are still going through college
Exactly.
or coming back to school and getting more education.
Such a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's always so nice to see like an adult, like in my communication class, and then you ask them like, what made you choose to come back to school? And they're just like, life was shit. I just needed my education, you know. I'm trying to get a better job, you know, a better life. And I'm like, you know what? Good for you, Sam.
Yeah.
Good for you, you know.
Yeah.
If this is really what you want to do, 100%, I'm rooting for you, you know. And I hope you have a great process through all your endeavors, and I hope you have a great time here at SLCC.
You're a great spokeswoman for SLCC. That's awesome.
Please pay me more money and pay for all my tuitions, please.
Yeah,
the college refund.
Waive all that tuition,
Right,
please. Yeah,
right.
That would be very nice. Yeah. So, moving forward into your future, what excites you? What are you looking forward to?
Oh, I honestly, I love surprises.
Okay.
You know, I'm working on some stuff at this moment, but I don't know what the future has in store, honestly, and I just want to be surprised, you know. I'm just going with the flow, you know, with the flow.
Yeah.
So, I'm currently studying international comparative law. You know,
Okay.
I'm now looking forward to law school. If I could skip that, I really would, because you know that money.
Yeah, that's a
Obama,
lot
do
of
you want to
money.
adopt me? But I'm hoping for some new some new opportunities to come up. You know, like I said about my study abroad, I'll be doing a study abroad in South Korea in the summer of next year, and I'll be graduating from SLCC also in May. So I'm super looking forward to that and attending you. And I hope I get to stay at the dorm as an RA, because you know.
Yeah.
College is a scam, guys. College is a scam.
It really is a lot of money, so however you can figure out to pay for it, for sure.
Yes, just learning new stuff along the way, getting more exposed to different people and different cultures, and learning a new language. I'm currently learning Korean, so 안녕하세요.
Awesome.
So I'm currently learning Korean, and honestly trying to learn my own language as well, you know, because you can always improve with that.
Yeah.
And just being connected with the rest of the world, but also taking some time for myself as well.
I love that. Early congratulations on the transition from Slick to the U and
Thank you.
study abroad. That all
Thank you so
sounds
much.
amazing. I know that all my experiences where I've traveled internationally really brought me a lot, you know. Fun in general. We all need to have more fun, but a lot of just perspective and insight on what this world is all about.
Yes,
I'm still learning all the time,
yes.
but yeah.
I encourage everyone, and whether you're in high school or you're in college, to honestly do a study abroad.
Yeah.
It's gonna leave you just in awe. You know, you're gonna come back open-minded, learning new things, eating so many good food. Like, come on, who doesn't want that, right?
Yeah.
But just
Food is a good motivator for all of us.
Right? Especially for me, 100% for me. But yeah, like if you have the opportunity, and you can do a study abroad, just do it. You know, go for it. Never say never, right? Just.
For sure. I'm with you. What's with this trend, though? Young people seem to be trending towards South Korea, Japan, Asia.
Kim Namjoon, Min Yoongi,
Asia
BTS.
in general, BTS, anime. Help me understand this trend. What's going on?
Oh wow, I freaking love you, Peter. Like, can I take you home with me? But I honestly was not into K-pop.
Okay.
But my junior year, one of my good friends named Fortessa, we were in dance class, you know, and she was like, do you know BTS? And I was like, what? BTS? Like, behind the scenes? Yeah, I know behind the scenes. Like, what's up? She's like, no, it's a K-pop group. And then she was like, she kept on telling me to listen to them. And, you know, that time I honestly was not very open-minded about, like, expanding my music genre. I was like, nah. You know, and then she just kept on insisting, and like one of their songs is called Fire. She was like, listen to it, and I was like, fine, whatever. So one day I finished doing my homework and I decided to listen to it, and I was like, oh, they're pretty good. And I swear the government was watching me, because every single time I went to YouTube I see like new videos of them, and I was like, what the heck?
It's just YouTube listening to you.
I just kept on going and clicking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love these guys. They're like, and then I came onto a YouTube video of them, like it was literally like 2 hours long of like their whole story and how the group formed, and I honestly was so touched by that, and I was like, damn, like they really went through some hard shit. Can I swear on here?
Yeah.
Okay. They really went through some hard shit, you know? And I was just like, wow, like this is amazing. Like this is some like a group that I really want to be involved with. That this is something I want to really invest my time in, and I don't regret any of it, you know. Like they're gonna be doing a concert in California in October, and it's gonna be a freaking like Hunger Games, you know, with the tickets. And I regret not purchasing a ticket before the whole pandemic, but then they canceled because of Miss Corona, you know. You need to pack your bags and leave, man. But and they reopened, and you know, I obviously didn't have a ticket before, so it's like people that had tickets before are the people that are going to get, you know, first serve, you know. So I have to wait until I get accepted to get a ticket.
Oh,
sadly,
no.
Hopefully I get a ticket. Manifest. But Peter, please listen to K-pop because you're going to love it. Listen to BTS.
So yeah, Jimmy Fallon, you know Jimmy Fallon.
Yes, I love Jimmy Fallon.
So BTS was on Jimmy Fallon, right?
Yes.
During the pandemic, and they did that whole thing in the subway, and I was actually like, I was very impressed. I was like, because like it isn't. It's not like, you know, it was in the subway. They obviously choreographed everything to work with the area they were in. I was like, damn, these guys are good.
Yeah.
You know, like super on point, and everybody like had their part. And then during the subway interview, when they're just sitting on the subway and Jimmy's talking to them, it was interesting to see how you could see their distinct personalities.
They're all different.
And where the one was kind of like a little bit more outgoing and willing to engage with Jimmy, and others were kind of just cool about sitting back.
I'm cool, you know. Yeah. Just cool, but I freaking love them. And they were just recently at the UN, you know, giving a speech. Amazing. Wow, they're just. If I had one word to describe them, it would just be wow. Like every single time, wow, you know. And a lot of people, when I tell them I'm going to South Korea, they're like, "Cause of BTS," and I'm like, yes, why not? You know, but no, like after. Okay, so before them, I always knew I wanted to do a study abroad. I just didn't know where I wanted to go yet. I did not make a decision. But after discovering BTS, I also got very... it opened my mind up to Korea, you know? I was, like I said, the government was watching me, and I started seeing, like, Korea study abroad. So I'm like, what in the world is this? You know, so I started watching a couple of them, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool, you know? But if you ask me again if I'm going for BTS or the food, I would say the food. The food looks super bomb, but you know their education system is honestly a very interesting process, you know.
Yeah.
And like their top universities, I want to go to Yonsei University. I looked into it, and it just seems like a very interesting university. And the country by itself is just beautiful, and it's just something I really want to put my foot in and just explore. And get to know more, and of course learn the language. And a lot of people, when they listen to when you try to get them to listen to K-pop, they're like, oh, the language barrier. And I'm like, that's the beautiful thing, you know. Like you don't have to listen to a song to know the meaning and then feel touched. You know, you can just sometimes listen to the voice, and you're just like, wow, you can still feel touched. And if you want to know the subtitles, girl, I mean, you want to know the what they're saying, just read the subtitles. It's not that hard. People make stuff so hard for themselves. Yeah. It's crazy.
I've recently been enjoying more music in different languages, and it's just fun to expand those genres.
Yes.
Another group that comes out of France. Have you ever heard of Christine and the Queens?
No. Sounds interesting, though.
Yeah, you need to look up Christine.
Okay.
Christine and the Queens. Yeah, she's a super good dancer and like a super good entertainer, and their music, I really like her music too.
Okay.
She does some stuff only in French, but then combines English and French and some in English.
That.
And so,
I like that.
It's really cool.
Yeah, same thing with BTS. Sometimes they'll be singing in Korean, they add like a little few English words, and you're like, ooh, I know what that means, you know. I know what they're saying, you know. And they currently have 3 English songs, like all in English, no Korean, you know, which is really cool. And like a lot of time people are like the older army, like their fan base is called armies. me. A lot of like their armies are like, well then, why are they singing in English? Like, you know, and I'm like, this is the music industry, baby. Like, you know, it's super sad that in this country, like, if you do not speak English and you do not like sing in English, you cannot really win a Grammy. You know, and it's like so stupid. Like, why can't we just?
Yeah, it's stupid.
Like, just literally, like, languages are freaking beautiful. If they want to sing in this language, let them sing in this language. And if they deserve that Grammy, give them that Grammy. You know?
It is sad that, you know, to some level, everything has to be produced in English in order for it to be marketed or for people to think that they can make enough money. I admit it's a sad part of the capitalism of the United States.
And it's crazy because they've been breaking records even with their non-English songs. And I'm just like, you see that? This is what we call superstars, you know? They don't gotta sing in a specific language to break records.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you to go to Korea. My only experience is I did a long layover there. So I was flying from Thailand back home, and there was like I don't know, like a 16 or 18 hour layover. So I'm like, of course I'm not staying in the airport. I'm going to go.
Explore,
I went into Seoul and went to a few of like the old palaces and just explored and ate some food. And I was like, this place is cool. I'd love to come back.
That's what I'm saying. And their nightlife, wow. Like Utah has no nightlife. I wish we had a nightlife like South Korea. Be literally amazing. I'd be out 24/7 partying. Just kidding, Dad. Just kidding. Catch me at the masjid every day. Yes, you know.
Don't overdo it, but definitely go and have fun. You know, and enjoy yourself.
Just live your useful. You know, when you're out here carrying all this, like, I gotta protect the world as a youth. Like, I gotta like save this. Make a better way of this issue. Like, change this. You know, sometimes you need a break. You know, book that flight, sis, and just go do what you gotta do, you know?
Absolutely. Life is way too short for you to just be serious and turned on all the time. It just needs to, like, let loose. You know, go to the beach for a few days or go to South Korea for 6 months or whatever it is, you know?
Take me with you.
Just do it.
Exactly. And I know South Korea is it's not the end. I want to go so many places. Like, I want to go to India, and of course I want to go to Japan, you know? Not because of anime.
It's okay if it's for anime, you know? When I was younger, I wanted to go to Japan for the martial arts, you know,
my
like
God, that's so cool. Yeah, but you know, I also watch anime, and if you want to talk to me about anime, just DM me. But
I know nothing about anime,
but not just like I said, not just anime, but not just South Korea, not just Japan, not just India. Like, I want to go all over.
That's awesome. Other thing that I've noticed about Kadi, and since I've known you, is your fashion. You love fashion, and well, I'm speaking for you, but it seems like you love fashion.
I love fashion.
You are coming to different things with your latest sort of fashion. I love it. So tell me about fashion.
I get so shy when people talk about fashion. Like, I don't even want to say this, but I have sometimes when people ask me for fashion advice, and I get too shy, you know. And a lot of time, like, they're always like, how can I dress better? Like, how can I want to dress like you? I'm like, no, you don't. You really don't, because like, wear what you're comfortable with, right? And when people come to me for fashion advices, I never try to put my fashion on them. I look and see, like, okay, this is the type of clothes you like to wear. Like, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your clothing. Like, what do you like? What you don't like? You know. Then I take something and put it on you, like what you like, you know. So it's never what I want to see you wear. It's always like, are you comfortable with that? And if you're not, tell me you're not, you know. But fashion, I freaking love fashion. I've always loved fashion, and since elementary I used to wear tutus embarrassing times. Like, I'm never showing people those pictures. Like, I'd have like the Barbie and like the sparkly and like the the spaghetti. Yeah, it was just a whole disaster. But I think my fashion sense peaked like my senior year in my first year of college. That's when because, you know, like, I love the cozy college like outfits that people put together, you know. I had a very huge expectation going to college, you know, but I just love that those outfits that they put together, like, when you're in college. And ever since I've been into K-pop, like, their fashion, wow. Like seeing the way, like, they like put up like layer stuff, and layering is something I'm super big on. Like, I hate summer. I love fall and winter because I'm able to like literally like wear your 50 jackets and stuff, and those are my moments, you know. Those are the moments that I'm very like comfortable in. But fashion, I freaking love fashion.
So today you're probably a little excited because it was colder today. So you're like, let's get some layers on.
Oh my gosh, Peter's gonna love my blazer.
I do.
You know?
I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It gives me like my mom's. It reminds me of like my mom's spices. You know, like just like the color, and it reminds me of like
it's
autumn.
A nice color. Yeah.
You know, I love it. I freaking love it.
How do you go about like is you go to specific stores and pick out things there, or is it just kind of like you're going about and you see something you like I gotta have that?
I never like to shop like at the mall. I'm always an online person, like finding the right sizes. I've and it's so awesome because I've never had like a bad like moment when I shopped online, like picked out something that's too small, too big.
Yeah.
Like I have some people who are like, ew, I hate shopping online because I ordered this t-shirt and it was too like small, and I'm like, sucks to be you. But you know, it seems like a you problem, you know. But I've never had that, and I love shopping online. But if I do shop like in person, I probably like sometimes go to the mall. But honestly, thrift stores are the it place, you know.
Oh gosh, it's about to ask that. You go thrifting, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's always the man blazer for me. Unless I'm shopping online, you know. Man, you guys will be having some good taste sometimes. Not all of you, just some, you know. But they be having like some, you know, nice stuff sometimes that I just go and look at, and especially with their hats, you know, like the old kind of vintage hats. Oh, I love, even for jewelry, you know, like going to Goodwill, getting some jewelry is always like a nice moment, you know. Obviously, sometimes you're not always gonna find some like cute stuff, right? But just going at the right moment. Go every Friday at 5 o'clock to Goodwill.
That's a good way to kick off the weekend. Go a little thrifting. Yeah, notice that little ring watch you have.
Oh my gosh, that's from Amazon, isn't that?
I've never seen something like that.
I show everybody. Like we'll be in the middle of a serious conversation. I'm like, dude, look at my ring watch. Like, have you ever seen this? And they're like, oh my god, I've never seen it. Like, I have two associates at work that are like, can you buy me on Amazon? And I'm very tempted to actually buy them, but I kind of don't want to buy them because I want to be the only one. I want to be the main character in the building. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Like, who am I, Beyonce? No, actually, she could never. But yeah, you know, like, I freaking love jewelry. Like, in my family, like, jewelry is a very big thing. Like, especially my mom and her gold jewelries. If it's ever stolen, don't tell her it's me, because, you know, like, half of these are my mom's, you know. But jewelry has always been a big thing, and if I had to leave the house with one thing, it would just be jewelry.
It was shoes for me. I love shoes, and so same way, like for me in school, if I showed up and I saw somebody else might have the same pair of shoes as me, I was like always a little bit like, a little salty, like no, look at my shoes, man.
You know,
like, you can't be wearing my shoes,
you know. I just
right?
feel so embarrassed, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, what were your like favorite kind of shoes to wear?
I really would go through everything from wearing like these big skater shoes to like Air Jordans, trying to pull off the Air Jordans. I could really only pull off the Air Jordan 1s for me. To go into like something that's more like, oh, this is convenient, or something like just stupid and funny, like just getting a pair of Velcro shoes, like just because you want to be stupid and funny with your friends or whatever, and
that's
just be like a goofy,
fashion,
you know, a goofy outfit together or whatever. But I also played a lot of sports, so a lot of the shoes that were like cool for what sport I was playing, like even if it wasn't like a soccer cleat, it was some sort of shoe that was cool for soccer players or whatever. So
I realized a lot of like old trends, like stuff that was like worn in back then are coming back recently, especially on TikTok. When I watch like fashion TikToks, I'm just like, wow, like this is so cool, you know. Like sometimes like don't throw away your old stuff because it's always gonna come back. And that's what I love about fashion. There's no limit, you know. You just wear what makes you comfortable, and if you're comfortable with it, and I'm sure you look good in it, you know, just do what makes you happy.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I trend more towards comfort. Like I just want to be comfortable these days, but definitely you got to add a little spice of your own fashion.
Okay, look at you speaking slang, the spice.
I'm learning from you. I'm learning on the go.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Kadi, if you were to give like any advice or parting words for like younger people or older people or anybody, like what anything that you would want to say?
Vote for me 2030.
I would. Yeah, you got it.
Free chicken every Friday.
There we go.
But no, honestly, it's okay to be vulnerable. Number one, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay sometimes to feel like you see something on social media, you're like, oh my gosh, like, I want to be like this person. It's normal. We're all human. We all have those moments. But just know that you're beautiful and you're unique, you know? And it's good to have space, you know, have time for yourself sometimes to leave that TikTok aside, something I need to still learn. But, you know, it's okay to, like, leave that TikTok and go to bed and freaking wake up on time for school, you know?
Yeah.
But life is a come and go. Do what you like, do what you love, and just be you, honestly, and be unapologetic.
I love that. It wasn't until later in my life that I got really comfortable just being me.
Yes.
It's still a work in progress, but yeah, I love that.
Just be you, Peter.
Thank you, Kadi. I love that.
That should have been my closing. Just be you,
I love
Peter.
that message. If people wanted to follow you on social media, Twitter, see what you're talking about, or just keep up with you in general, the way do people get in contact with you?
Of course. My home address is 40. No, I'm just kidding.
No, don't do that. Don't tell them that.
No, I'm just kidding. So my social media, hold on. It's on Instagram is KADISOW and with an underscore. So just DM me. I'm always on that freaking app. But just DM me and send me some of your favorite memes and podcasts. And just if you ever have any questions about my religion or me, just hit me up. You know, I don't bite.
Awesome, and especially if it's about K-pop or anime.
Oh my gosh, if you're trying to go on a study abroad with me, please hit me up, please.
I appreciate that. When is study abroad?
Next year in the summer. So I'm going for the whole summer.
Awesome. Well,
yes.
Maybe when you come back, we can have you back on the podcast. You can tell us about your study abroad, and we can check in and see where life's going.
I love to be back. Watch me be like, I'm never going to Korea again. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, yes, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kadi, for all the time. Of course.
Thank you for inviting me. This was amazing. Yeah. Amazing way to end my night.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right.